Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you aboard. And I've been watching MRO all day. It's been fairly flat, going a little bit lower right now. We're going to take the trade here. We're going to take it off. There's fresher signals out there in the market that are available for us that we can put this money to use in a better way than trying to hope that it's going to go for us. So I'm just going to throw the order out here that we're going to take a closer look at it. So we're going to sell again. We're going to sell our 10 contracts in MRO. And we got out at a price of 153. 153. We sold our MRO. Yeah, getting out of MRO for 153. Let's go look at it. Yes, we're selling MRO. There'll be an email out and a text shortly on that. We got out at 153. Okay, let's go look at a chart of it. And here's MRO. Today it went higher a little bit and just kind of slowly fading, getting down towards the lows of the day. Just didn't want to take another chance that this thing might. We look at this on the over here. I'll answer that just a second, Slawick. Thanks. Down 27. It's been ranging pretty flat all day long. Between down, it actually went positive for a short period of time. But then just the thing that I was worried about, a slow bleed into the afternoon, and it's been really slow, and it's not very fast, and not that anything's really changed. This could run higher come tomorrow. There's just better entrant signals out there. Not today. As you know, I just got finished with my top three, and I found two of them. Some better entrant signals. We would have been probably jumping into another challenge trade, but for now, going to jump out our MRO. We're going to reset this challenge. We'll have around $2,000 in the account. We still has plenty of money to do some damage with. I know Jeff's very first challenge that he turned 3,000 to 100,000. They got down to 1,500. So yeah, we're in fine shape for it. Sure, we like to better start the challenge, but that's trading. So on and look into the next trade. Get this off our shoulders. Get some fresher signals in here for us, and we'll be looking for a trade tomorrow, starting tomorrow morning. We don't typically enter first thing in the morning, but hey, if we find a nice signal, maybe a little bit later on in the mornings, we enter trades at that point. It depends on the signal and what's going on in the market. Okay, so again, we jumped out of MRO, and we're going to be moving on, finding a new challenge trade. Yes, Steve, we just sold MRO. We got out at $1.53. Okay, hold on just for 1 second, and I'll come right back. Okay, again, so we sold out of MRO. It's in the message center just below here as well, where we got out the information on that. So we're out of MRA. We're in cash in the challenge. We're looking for another challenge entry tomorrow and get this thing off and running. Okay, I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty competitive, and when things go against me, I wanna get back and get this ball running, and that's what we're gonna planning on doing. Okay, because now as far as there's a fine line of being competitive in the market. It's competitive, yeah, be competitive in the market, but don't go out and say and throw all the marbles on one big long shot, right? You don't want to do anything like that. And that's what happens a lot of time in the market. You take a little bit of a hit, you want to get that back, so you go out harder than ever and hope the next trade's really going to go your way, right? We still want to be patient, understanding the risk and reward on any type of a trade we make. So it's a learning experience all along the way of the challenge. All right. Okay, so let's look at some of the charts. Verizon. guess it would help if I actually typed it into the window up there. Yeah, this little move in Verizon day, it's been outperforming AT&T all day. AT&T is rolling over a little bit. Verizon's actually holding its own. Still, it's well below the 7. I wouldn't, if I was in a bearish trade on it, I wouldn't get out yet. I'd give it till tomorrow and see what it does. It still has the factors of a downtrend, and it's starting there. Just a little bit of consolidation today. It's up 12 cents. It's technically there's nothing there bullish. It still looks more bearish than anything. The stop on this was at yesterday's high, if I remember, when I put that out on my top 3. Okay. One of the other stocks we looked at yesterday, IBM. Hey, this rolled over, went down 1%. That's what we wanted it to do today, and it did it. And the last one was, looking at my top 3 from yesterday, was WellPoint, right? And they were lower off a little bit of a downgrade, down $1.27. This is closing below the 7. This is one of those trades that looked good yesterday, got some news, and down it went. And you can't expect that. You can't try to anticipate anything like that. I chuckle because sometimes I see people do downgrades or upgrades, and it just makes me wonder if there's some other ulterior motive, right? For the big boys, they can make upgrades and downgrades, and who knows if they bought a nice position the day before when they do an upgrade, or a short position when they do it down. I don't know, and it's not supposed to happen, but it makes me wonder sometimes, if you know what I mean. uh, so. BMY, Bristol Myers, right? This was one of my top 3 today. And this is a trend rider signal. I'd like to see it close down here into that lower band. That's what I'm looking for here. With this trade, it'd be a shorter term trade. I would go 2 strikes in the money for December. If you want to go a little bit more conservative, you could go 1 strike in the money for January. And that would be, if you want, if it does drop, get down here into the $50 to the $49 range, it's going to pay off pretty well if you go December's. It'll still pay off if you go January's. It just pay off a little bit more on a little bit more risk if you're taking December options. But just to keep a shorter term trade, I'd put a stop here at today's high. I wouldn't put it on the 7. It's a little way, not too far from the 7, but it's going to control your risk a little bit more to put a stop on today's high. And if it hits it, then hop on out. Okay, so that would, so I'd go again for Bristol Myers. That's where I'd go for Best Buy, the other top 3 today. I had 2 of those, if you weren't around. Now this is still looking really strong. I move up through the 7. Move up through the 7 today, pushing higher. It's been holding the gains today and pushing a little bit higher right now as we're speaking. This is a really good entrance signal here for Best Buy. Again, this is a trend rider bull signal. I'd have to bring in the vibe. I'm sorry, a vibe bull signal with all the averages rising. A strong push up today off the 7 after it hit the 7 today. Push higher. Looks to run up towards the $44 mark. Good for you, pot roast. And by the way, I love the name. I have one of those every Sunday. MRO. I sold half his MRO and took some profits. Okay, so WMB. Williams, yeah, I've been looking at this stock today. It's a trend rider bull signal. It's got a tremendous volume. The reason that I didn't bring it in, it's showing all the signs of a trend rider. So you might ask, Carl, why isn't it not on your top 3? It's got all the signs there, right? Well, I'm very picky with my top 3. One thing, in case you haven't noticed. This is giant candle right here. These giant candles, to me, just kind of throw the technicals off for a while. It might just keep running. It might go up here to 37, 37.5. It might consolidate. Those big candles like that, even if it's a big bearish one, they throw the technicals off. See, this had some follow through, but you look at some of the other big candlesticks, not much follow through. A little bit here. After 2 big days here, there wasn't much. It's just those big candlesticks. It's got all the characteristics, right? You look at it and say, well, yeah, the RSI breaking 50, the Bollinger Bandwidths are expanding, it's got a lot of volume. It's all true. Those giant candlesticks just make a little bit iffy to me if it's going to keep running or consolidate. It might push higher, but that's why I didn't go into my top 3, just for that reason. Yeah, Krispy Kreme. Earnings today. It was a TrendRider bear signal last night. Earnings today, and so this always brings up the question: TrendRider bear signal. Did someone in the company have some loose lips? And that's never going to be answered. You don't know. It's fun to say, oh yeah, someone in the company had some loose lips, but you never know. And there's times when the SEC, if they see a lot of that, they might go investigate it. But even then, it's kind of hard to say. You never know. Las Vegas Sands, tapering a little bit here. So, oh, sorry, let me go back out and put this over on a vibe. And when I say tapering, I'm not talking the Fed's tapering. This would, if this was a S&P 500 stock, or this has all the signs of a TrendRider bull, right? Average is rising, it's above the 7. Okay, now if it closed with a candle like this today, or like this, rising above the 7, then yeah, that'd be a vibe bull signal. Nice little entrance signal like that. The fact that it sold off in just this little tiny body, kind of a gravestone looking action, just puts the odds there that it's not ready to break 72 yet. And there's a good chance it could give us, if it breaks it tomorrow, it'd be the same type of a signal. If you get something like this pushing up out of here tomorrow, yeah, then much better looking candle. If you had some strong volumes, much better looking entrance. But today, where it's sold off like that, not today. It's not ready to go yet. Yep, you're right, AK. Straticists. So this is one of those other stocks, another one very similar. This would be considered a vibe bull vibe, whatever way you want to pronounce that. It's got the volumes, it's got the averages rising, the MACD is falling. The only thing here, I want a stronger candle. It gapped up above 120. That's one of the big numbers. 120. There's even an ascending triangle pattern here. Now, if it would have pushed up through 120 today, and it might even do it tomorrow. So if let's say today it had a candle more like this. Oops. Not a red filled candle, but like a red hollow. Candle more like that up of a 120 and everything rising. You got that kind of volume. The entrance is there. They gapped higher. It's holding the gap. There's a chance it could consolidate around back to the 120 mark. It might just keep running, right? Always anything can happen in the market, but it just puts the odds a little bit less that it's going to take off like I want it to take off. You guys, I love donuts, and I love the sense of humor out there. I like to laugh, if you haven't noticed. Where was I? ITW. All right, so you can see this is not a vibe, so goes right over to TrendRider. Illinois tools. Okay, without having looked at the options or anything like this to see this might be traded, we could jump over at it really fast here. Oops. Without having traded this much, I'm looking at the option spreads here for the puts, and let's see where we're at. We're looking at December's. Yeah, they're a little bit wide. 15 cents, 240 to 225. The further in the money you go, it goes to 40 cents. Spreads are a little bit wide there. They're a dime if you're going the first strike out of the 77 fives. Okay, so spreads are a little bit wide. This was one that we wouldn't trade here at Trader Minute just because the wide spreads like that. You get wide spreads like this, and a bunch of people start following into a trade. They're going to get wider. They're not going to get better. Um, they'll get a little bit wider, and plus you got to do it all over again when it goes out. If it starts going in the money, the spreads start to widen like that. You got to deal with the spread all over again. That's the only reason why we wouldn't make a trade. I couldn't argue with that setup at all. Beautiful looking setup. It's it might be a little, really about a dollar away from the seven. That's not too bad, but it's got everything that we talk about, right? RSI breaking through 50, stock entering the lower Bollinger Band. It's like it's going to close near the lows. You got amazing volume, and the volume's what's big because you can see we got a nice uptrend that's been intact here. So with the volume, it even helps confirm a move lower even more. Before you'd ever jump into a trade, you want to check to see if you have any kind of earnings on it. Here's one place you could, this is stating from last quarter. You look through the news, they might sell a chunk of itself. This is might sell a chunk of itself. So nothing firm there, but yeah, I can't argue with the setup at all. That's a nice looking setup as far as a trend rider bear signal. Good looking. Okay, that's right, Snippa. It's the food of the soul. Look at the market. Okay, off the lows of the day, it is breaking 1800. On these breaks of 1700, well, last time it got up here above 1800, didn't quite make it. Technically there's nothing there yet. The uptrend's still intact on the S&P. Just looking at, again, technically, you're not going to see volumes on this. They don't matter a whole lot on the S&P, but yeah, well, it's down below the 7, so it just puts odds. There's some downside risk there, but overall, the overall feeling of the market's still bullish. All right, I'm just reading through some of the chats. Sorry, I know I'm not supposed to let dead airspace go. I'm not a DJ, but that's what I always hear him say. You got to keep talking. Okay, everybody. So we got MRO out of the system, right? MRO. Again, there's nothing. This might go up tomorrow. Might go through the 7. Just there's better opportunities out there. We're gonna look fresh start tomorrow on the challenge. Look for some fresh entrances. And they could be any type of an entrance. With the challenge trade, we can do a vibe entrance, we can do a trend rider entrance, we can do candle entrances, chart patterns. We're more free in the challenge trades. If you're wondering what the difference is, we can trade any of those in the challenge. And we mix it up occasionally, but we're going to look for some fresh signals going in tomorrow. Get MRO in the books. And it was a loss of around 250, around the $250 range. After we make those trades and the texts go out, you'll find it if you refresh and go back into the closed challenge trades, right? That's where you're going to find those, and it'll show you all the details on that. So again, we got out of MRO, looking for a fresh entry for the challenge come tomorrow. If there was some out there today, we might have made an entry today, but there is just not that many signals, and I thought that we would see more. But there just wasn't. And some of the bearish signals that were there earlier weren't there this afternoon. But it's still as far as the deal. SPM. Yeah, a couple strikes in the money on if you get following any of these trades. If you're going to go December's, I'd go 2 strikes in the money. Got about 2.5 weeks left. It's buying you, it's paying for some safety there to go a couple strikes in the money. If you wanted to go a strike out, I'd typically go one strike in. If you wanted to go a strike in, I'd probably go to January at this point. And the only reason, if the trade turns against you, you don't got much time in the trade, and you lose a little bit more money. And not to mention time decay is going to start picking up in the next week sometime, mid next week sometime is where they'll pick up. But that's why I'd go either two strikes in if you go in December's, or one strike in if you go in January's. I just said January. Can you believe it? January is just next month. A few weeks away. And my sister always told me time flies when you get out of high school, and holy cow, was she ever right. Sorry, I had my my chat up a little bit, and I didn't see the new ones come in. PayX, I saw this one today as well. It's sold off. As I was watching it this afternoon, it sold off. If it closed with a candle, like that, it would have been a beautiful bull vibe entrance signal. But the fact that it sold off like that today, take it off the table. I wouldn't enter it. Not that it's not going to go higher, right? Anything can happen. The volume's good and everything like that. It's just that selling action right there into the close just makes me hesitate. And technically it is a bull vibe. It's still above the 7. It's closing above the 7. But that's the reason I would hold off. A push above the 44 would have been a much better looking entrance. Neighbors, won't you be my neighbor? Now, if you're laughing at that, you're from back in the day. Um, with neighbors, so it's been in a downtrend here, and today what it's doing is just pulling up to the 7. It's got some volume down in these levels, but I'm not sold it's going to run higher right here, right now. It's sold off. It's still closing below the 7 today. This would be one. But maybe watch it tomorrow, see if it comes back above it. Let this thing run for a little bit, see where it's going to pull back. So let's say it goes up to, I don't know, 17. Runs up to the $17 area. Watch where that first sell-off happens. Because right now it's still, even they got a decent candle today and the volumes have picked up, it's still hitting that 7, battling it. I wouldn't get bullish on it. I'd get a little bit nervous if I was in puts after today's action, but it's still on the 7. It could come back right back down again tomorrow, because really nothing's changed in that downtrend on that one day like today. Kimco, same thing. We've got a downtrend started. It's coming up, pushing back off the 7. If I was in puts, I'd still stay in puts. I wondered what happened yesterday. Huge volumes on it, never really went anywhere. Today hit the 7. If it's turned negative today, that would have been ultra bearish, and possibly even a signal to go short on it. But the fact it's just kind of going sideways here today, not bullish, not bearish, more bearish than anything. It's just consolidating a little bit back to the 7. I have not talked about Apple. Let's go look at Apple. Oh yeah, nice breakout action. The rumors are getting stronger and stronger of them doing a deal with China Mobile. Technically, you're looking at this technically, it's in the upper Bollinger Band when that comes in here. If I was in calls on it, no reason to exit. Still looks to run higher. You know me, you're never gonna hear me argue about taking a gain. You're taking a profit, good for you. Who cares what the stock does after you got your nice gain? That's the way you gotta be. Amazon. I didn't hear the Amazon question. Looking at Amazon technically, there's no real reason technically to go to short it. No reason to buy it right in here. Somebody put this in the chat this morning. It made me laugh and still makes me laugh. Is when, they said one of the drones crashed and burst into flames, causing a sell-off here. There's no technical reason here to enter a trade. Watch it. If it bounces back up off the 7 tomorrow, it might give you a bullish trade. If it comes flying back down through the 7, it's still got a nice uptrend intact. I wouldn't get overly bearish in here. The volumes have picked up a little bit, but no critical levels have been broken as far as support goes yet, and it's still above the 7, so watch it. Autodesk, yeah, not a bad looking signal here. So if I bring in the trend rider, I'm sorry, the vibe, and the vibe, right, we got everything rising, even our indicators up here rising, the MACD rising. Not a bad look. I'd like it. It would confirm a little bit of what we call a three methods rising. It's a variation of it because there's like five methods down there. But if it closed up here towards the 46 mark, would make it a little bit better signal. But odds are this is going to run higher. Yeah, it would just give a little bit more confirmation if it closed above this close right here on this big Maribozu candle right there. But still, not a bad looking setup, especially with what the market's doing today. To see stock like this, the market have a decent day. These are going to run up. So yeah, good looking chart. Green monthly starts. I like it, Mike. Green monthly. ATI. If you guys been in the market, you remembered ATI in the glory days. Kind of like a taser. ATI was one of those that just kept going. You just about couldn't go wrong on ATI because those days are past. If I look at this at a trend on a trend rider, there you go, trend rider signal. Let's zoom in on that slightly. So you got the RSI breaking through 50. You got the stock pushing into the lower band. Now it's quite a candle on it today. I'd like to look and see the news. If it was some kind of news, that's a wild candlestick today. Up, down, a dollar range here. It's really closed fairly flat. The volumes are big on it. The bands are expanding. It looks to run lower. I definitely check the news. See when they announce earnings, check the news, see if there was anything to cause this big volatility swing today. But overall, it's jumping in the lower band. It looks to run lower at this point. About how far? Just checking support levels down below it. Maybe down towards the 31 range. 31 range, somewhere around right through that area. Those prior resistance up in those levels. If it gets through 31, it's going to 30, but I'd give it down to about that range. Or just, if you got into it, ride it with the lower Bollinger Band until it closes back inside of it. But I'd definitely check the news to see if there was anything out there today that happened to be on ATI. Mr. Rogers. I always liked Sesame Street better, but hey, when that wasn't on, it was always Mr. Rogers. May he rest in peace, huh? eBay. So eBay, big gap yesterday. Like I always say, let these things settle down. And today I'd still be letting it settle down. Let it settle down, see where the next higher low is going to come in. Now I'm just going to do some drawing here. Let's say that this happened to happen. It comes down here around the 51.5 mark and starts to push up higher after it's calmed down a little bit. The 7 catches up there towards it a little bit. Then you might have a signal to go bullish. Right now, it's just too early to say. But it might just run higher and leave us hanging. But that's one of the things that you got to deal with. Sometimes they just get away from you, and that's fine. When they get away from you, you're looking for the next one that doesn't get away from you. I do that all the time. Punching the wrong screen. I'm looking at my stock charts, typing in tickers, and I realize I'm over there in chat. So, with the IWM, it's got the uptrend. It's still intact. I mean, if I'm going to draw a trend line on here, the trend line right up through there, right? Overall, that's about where the trend line is. Still above the trend line. It's breaking below the 7 today. So if I was bullish here, I'd get out. It's not that I'm bearish yet, but I'd get out. The 111 mark, if I jump back out of this and look at the 111. Okay, so far technically it broke 111. It couldn't break it over here, couldn't break it over here. Well, it finally broke it. Now we're retesting the level. So that's technically there. But if I was, again, if I was bullish, I'd exit today and get out on a chance that it might run lower. It's had some big volumes yesterday as it pushed down towards the 7, closed about right on it. Say a little bit of follow through on that. See if it holds 111. Now if it starts to bounce up higher around the 112 mark, if I bring in the vibe, starts to bounce up off this 112 mark, then you got a higher low most likely. Okay, so let's say the next couple of days this pushes back up through the 7, everything's still rising, indicators still rising, you'd have a bull vibe entrance. Right here though, if I was bullish, I'd get out just on the chances it might come down here to the 111, maybe the 110 mark. But that's it with IWM. I am way behind on chats. Honeywell, same thing as IWM. It broke out and closed below the 7 yesterday, and today it's gapping and running. It's down here at the 87 mark, right? That's prior resistance on it. I wouldn't get bearish yet. What I'd be looking for, it wouldn't be a trend rider. It'd be more, sorry, it wouldn't be a vibe. It'd be more of a trend rider. And it's a long ways away. So it might just keep falling, but technically there's be more of an emotional trade than anything that's going to come down here to the lower band, not any perfect type of a technical setup on it. With LNG, yeah, it's sold off, and for that reason it's closing back inside the band. It's still underneath these candles right here. If it pushed up through the band and closed up towards the highs today, the odds of this running higher are there. They're just diminished a little bit today. Of this running higher tomorrow, it might not be ready. Okay, so it might consolidate and let that 7 catch up with it. It's going to give time, most likely, to, if it pushes higher, it's going to give you that entry signal, most likely, in the coming days. Yeah, tomorrow morning, tough call. It might not. There's just, technically there's nothing there. And that's one of the things with stocks. One thing that you're going to learn is if you try to find signals, trying to look at a stock and say, all right, what's it going to do tomorrow? What's it going to do tomorrow? It's going to be hit and miss. And a lot of times you're going to give yourself a headache trying to figure out what's the stock going to do tomorrow. Okay, so it's not always what's it going to do tomorrow. It's wait for the technical setups. When you see the nice technical setups, okay, now I got a nice technical setup. That stock's likely to go this way, like based on the top 2 that I put out there today. Those stocks are likely to go those directions. Of course, it's not a guarantee, but the odds are there that they're going to go that direction. Trying to figure out day by day without a technical setup, it's tough. I mean, it might continue the uptrend here. Most likely the odds are up because it's got an uptrend, but there's just not a technical setup right here saying that it's going to go today or tomorrow. Yeah, Verizon here coming up like that. It's still below the 7. My stop on it would be the high of yesterday, or the open of yesterday is just underneath that. And there went the bell. But not a full retracement of yesterday's candle. But yeah, it's a stronger action than AT&T. AT&T, well, it pulled back a little bit here today, but it was in the lower band here. Pulled back, and look at that. That band's contracting, and it actually held as a support level for it. Check that out. VZ, yeah, I wouldn't enter puts today. That had a nice signal on it yesterday, but I'd let this thing play out at this point. CLF was looking nice earlier today, but sold off. So same thing. It came up to the 7, sold off at the 7. This would be one of those if it pushes back below the 7. Now we're talking. a bearish trade, but it closed back below it. But a bullish trade, it's got to break up here above the 25 mark, and like to see where it's going to go from there. But yeah, that strong action sold off, just weakened the action a little bit. Yeah, what a chart, huh? It's up 63.5% today. Yeah, these are the ones that you always wish you would have been in on, right? Nice, nice move. Yeah, as far as any type of technicals, those things just throw it all off. A little bit hard to track stocks in this range here, but yeah, what can I say? Very nice move. Yeah, it's a fundamental story there. John would know about those. He's the man and those type of stocks. But technically, just that little bit of a sell right there would I'd hesitate from going along on it. It might just keep going, but fundamentals are always going to outplay the technicals every time. Yeah, let's look at one more. Just reading through all those chats, getting caught up. MJN. So there's the action that I would have liked to have seen yesterday. It's coming today. So come in on this. Well, let me bring in the vibe. So this is the top three from Tuesday. I think Tuesday of last week, something like that. And the stop is always typically, if it's not too far away from the 7, the stop's going to be on a close below the 7. The technical setup I was looking at, yeah, it was a week ago today, right there, when you had everything rising, right? Everything rising, positive indicators. You can see the MACD still uptrending through this area, right through here. That was the point where I was made my top three. And what has it done? Some bullish consolidation back to the 7, and today pushing higher. This is also a bullish candlestick pattern called a 3 methods rising pattern. Okay, where you got a nice bullish Maribozu there, which was on last Tuesday, and then 3 days slightly down, and then a push higher today, bouncing up off the 7, bouncing above the high here of the Maribozu, the first Maribozu that started the pattern. It's a very bullish chart pattern. Yeah, I love the setup. If I was in the trade, stay in it. It's a very bullish looking setup right there. Thanks for bringing that up, GB. Walmart, a couple more. Walmart, it's a nice comeback today. What that is a dragonfly. Now they're not always that accurate. I mean, I'm sorry, it depends on the stock. So what I want to do on Walmart here is look back and see how accurate they've been. It's a dragonfly, which is a bullish pattern if it's near the bottom. So if you saw a candle like we're seeing today down here, not a very good looking T, but if you saw it down here, it's bullish. If you see it towards the top, now it's kind of gone sideways for a little bit. See it towards the top, it's short-term bearish. It's not saying the trend's over or anything like that. More of a slight pullback that could happen. Okay, now it's not at the exact top, but it's up near that range. So if I go back in the past and I want to look to see if that pattern has been very accurate. Okay, well there's one right here, one right there, slight pullback. Okay, let's see on this uptrend here. There's one down here, which would have suggested some strength, which didn't work out. There's another one right here, and slightly, 1 day down, but continued higher, so really not much there. On that one, there's a close to a gravestone doji down here at the bottom. not a perfect one, but it did get a little bit of follow through on it. Up here, there's one right there. Kind of tough to see it, but there's one right there. There's a gravestone pattern right there that didn't work out. Here's a little one that did, short-term bearish, kind of right here, but this thing gapped higher like that. It didn't, so that's really not like what we're looking at right here today. It's kind of a toss-up with Walmart here on these patterns. But again, it doesn't mean the trend's over for Walmart. It might be weak for a day or two. It's about all it's saying. But still above the 7. If you're riding this the close on a close below the 7, you could still stay in the trade. So if you're in it, I wouldn't worry about it. Just watch that 7. If it closes below it, then get out. Just short-term bearish is what that says. And I say bearish, it just sounds harsh. Short-term weakness sounds a little bit better, right? That's about what it is. Okay. I know there was one more, FCX, and that was my top 3 from last Wednesday. I say was the whole top 3. It's just one. Still same thing. And if we look at this through the trend writer, which is what it was, it's still in the lower band. The volumes are still decent. It's coming down here towards 34. Really, 33 is this where this one could come. If you happen to be in this trade, just watch it. If it closes inside the lower Bollinger Band, then get out. Take it. You probably got a little gain in here. But if it closes inside the band, then just get out. Okay. And take the gain and move on. Don't get greedy. Just take it and run. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Again, we jumped out of MRO. We're going to look for some fresh trade tomorrow for the challenge and keep that running. We'll talk to you then. Okay, have a great night, everybody. Take care. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.